how do you develop a social system that really helps to motivate people and reward people and get them to find a sense of fulfillment in that environment?
Welcome to Biz Stories Shared, where storytellers share their inspiration, motivation, some disappointments, and how they applied the lessons that led them to success. Stories are gifts. Listen as these gifts are shared. Now, here is your host, Charlotte Plott.
Well, hello, storytellers. This is Charlotte Plott, and I am thrilled to bring you our guest today, Dr. Bob Ruotolo. Bob, are you ready to be a storyteller?
I sure am. Thank you, Charlotte.
Dr. Bob Ruotolo is an executive coach, including coaching Olympic athletes, and he is a professional speaker and author. He is founder of the Quantum Performance Institute, where he focuses on helping businesses create a corporate culture to improve productivity. Bob, I'd like you to give our listeners just a little summary about you. So take a minute, tell us more about you personally, because we want to get to know you better, and then give us an overview of your business.
Oh, thank you, Charlotte. Well, first of all, I'm blessed to have 4 grandsons, 3 daughters, and a wonderful wife of about 48 years. So you can tell where I am as far as where I am on my life journey. I'm now in Phoenix, Arizona. I've been here for about 20 years, moved down from Toronto, where I left, I was transferred from corporate America. My career has been in and out of corporate America as an in-house consultant and then into my own business for a number of years. So we're a resident now in Arizona, living in Maricopa, and enjoying this beautiful climate, and I'm working from this area.
Well, it is a beautiful area, and you have 4 grandsons?
Yes, I do.
And do they live here in the Phoenix area too?
2 of them, the 17-year-old and 15-year-old, live in South Portland, Maine.
Oh.
They did live here for a while, and they moved to South Portland, Maine. And my youngest 2 grandsons, the 6-year-old and the 2-year-old, lives just down the road a piece in Ahwatukee in the Phoenix area.
Oh, wonderful.
So, see a lot of them.
Wonderful. Well, now, do you want to give us a little bit more of an overview of your business?
Sure, I'd love to. My business is primarily helping organizations, and when I say helping, it's working with them in a partnership mode to help them build an enduring performance excellence, and doing this actually through their people. We focus on 5 organizational processes, all having to do with how they attract, retain, and develop their talent. We help organizations in hiring and selection. We help them in managing and putting performance management systems in place, developing their people in career development systems and processes. We help them develop their leadership with the leadership development, and in succession planning. So we're all about an organization's talent and high performance in that area.
That sounds very all-encompassing to have all of those 5 areas that you train in, not just one, because they do need all of them, don't they?
They do. My background is in organization development. I've been a behavioral science practitioner for many years. My practice actually started when I first started many years ago. I was a clinician doing individual family and marriage counseling. But my family background is all business, and they're all entrepreneurs. And so I was attracted out of the clinical area back into working in organizations, which is a beautiful, beautiful place to work because people spend so much of their time and energy and passion in organizations. And it's difficult to get people over time to really find their place in a business, to be able to really thrive and to get a great deal of satisfaction. So that's what I enjoy doing.
I think that's a wonderful thing you're doing, because we do spend so much time in the offices and in those organizations that it should be rewarding, and they should be happy while they're there and see personal growth and growth for the company too. But personally, they need to be happy there. So that's what you help them to do.
Absolutely. And in your opening comments, you talked about helping organizations to develop their culture. And that's what it's all about. How do you develop a social system that really helps to motivate people and reward people and get them to find a sense of fulfillment in that environment? It's not an easy thing to do. It's a challenge for all of us because, I mean, everybody, if you look at us as individuals, how often do we go through our life journey continuously happy? It's a state of mind, but it's a difficult place to be. So It's not easy, but that's why I have a job. That's why I work.
Right. Well, that is true, and if people can maintain that happiness, I read this little quote once that happiness is an internal mindset. That's not it exactly, but it does have to start in our soul, doesn't it?
I would say it's very close. Yeah, I think that's a really good definition in a sense. To me, I look at happiness as a state of mind. It's a byproduct of your thought process and how you look at yourself internally and the world around you. So it's a byproduct that you cultivate and you work on every day.
Bob, would you share with the storytellers your favorite quote? You apply it to your everyday thinking?
Absolutely. And I came across this when I was doing a lot of reflection and deliberation on what I've learned. And basically, my favorite quote is, learn from the past, be in the present, and prepare for the future.
Oh, that is a good one. Is that attributed to anybody in particular, or did you make that up?
I actually made that up when I wrote my first book.
Oh.
I looked at what I'm trying to accomplish in my life's journey, and to me that is probably the best way I can deal with every day and address every day is what lessons have I learned, good, bad, and indifferent. What lessons have I learned? Being, like you hear so much, at least in some of the world that I've worked in, the state of being. If any of you are existentialists or look or into yoga, or whatever, it's being. Okay, and the only place you can be in the present.
Right.
Okay, and so much of our lives, at least when I was a young person, I spent most of my life working really hard in the present for what I would attain in the future. And that's not bad at all when you're young, when you're preparing for a future. But I soon learned what was missing was the satisfaction and fulfillment of accomplishing and being in the present. And so I lost a lot of, to me, a lot of benefits of life, living a day to the fullest, because I was so focused on what am I trying to accomplish for tomorrow. And so, especially in the state where I am now in my life, in my journey, it's very important. Every day has to be a full day for me because I recognize that I'm on the downward slope of the life cycle. Just by virtue of my age.
Right, right. Well, that's so important what you said, again, about being present and living each day to its fullest. And thank you for that interpretation of your quote. And it is a beautiful quote, too. Thank you for that. You have shared some of the facets of your life, being in business, teaching, and helping. Along the way, you maybe have had some failures. Now, I want to ask you to tell us of one of the times that you just didn't get the results that you set out to achieve. You failed. Tell us that story, and most importantly, the lessons that you learned.
Very good. Thank you for that. And let me begin with the lesson I learned. The lesson I learned was it's very important what you label things, because labels have an emotional impact on your state of mind. And so therefore, I would like to not use the term failure, because although I've had many failures in my life, and I will have many, many more, it's really setting goals and not accomplishing what you want to the fullest. But I'd rather not look at them as failures. I'd rather look at them, as I said, learning lessons, because it makes me feel better about myself and recognizes that life is all about lessons. So, but let me share one with you. The first set of failures that I felt as a child, a young person growing up, was the inability to read. I used to go to class every day, and I had a difficulty. I think I was in remedial reading until I was about in the 8th or 9th grade. But I wasn't. But I was bright, but I couldn't read. So that was kind of an oxymoron. But it used to frighten me. I'd get nervous and anxious, and I used to count heads in class when I had to read out loud in class to see if I could practice the lines.
Oh my!
So that was the first set of failures. The second set of failures I had was later on in education. I was in college, at that time, your way of being marked was to take a 2 or 3 hour exam, and you'd have to write in the exam. But again, not being able to read, I also had difficulty in spelling. I couldn't spell very well. Thank God now for spell corrects and so on and so forth. Okay, but So I struggled in college, and I went undergraduate school. I made it through as a B minus. So again, all these years of not feeling confident in performing. However, I got my fulfillment and satisfaction and my kind of balance in athletics. I played sports all my life. I performed really well. I got through college in athletics. Only in a sense, what I meant got through was that I was able to sustain my failures in it academically with being able to get my confidence up in being a good athlete. However, as I was growing up, the sciences were catching up with students like me. We weren't stupid or
Oh,
ignorant. I had a learning disability.
oh my goodness.
However, I did have parents who valued education, instilled that in me, and I did go on from undergraduate school to graduate school. And just so happened, I went from a B minus student in undergraduate school to an A minus student in graduate school. Oh my
Wow,
goodness. Isn't that awesome?
that is.
And I didn't get any more intelligent. I wasn't any brighter or smarter. You know what the difference was primarily, Charlotte?
What? What?
They test us differently. In graduate school, I was able to choose an oral exam. I was able to write papers and have someone correct them for me before I submitted them. We did presentations. The written test wasn't as important. Matter of fact, we had very few of them, and I would choose to articulate verbally than write anything. And wow, my grades went up.
That is
So
amazing.
isn't that something? So it had to do
Yes.
more with the method than the person. But of course, my self-confidence grew and I felt better about myself. But yes, I lived a lot with failures growing up and in the educational field and academic field. So that was just an example of failures. I have many, many more to share with you.
Wow, but that was so personal
Absolutely.
to go through that when you were a child and struggling and not being able to read. That must have just been so difficult for you that, but you persevered, didn't you?
And let me give you another short story on that.
Okay.
My roommate in college was having difficulty with English, and he asked me, "Would you tutor me, Bob, in English?" I tutored him. You know what he
Really?
got for a mark on his written exam?
What?
He got an A. Do you know what I got?
What?
C plus.
Oh
C
no.
plus. Because I couldn't write as good as he could, but I knew
Oh,
more.
that's not fair, is it? Oh my.
Well, life isn't necessarily fair.
That's true. That's so true. Well, thank you for sharing those stories. And sometimes it's hard to relive those painful moments, but I don't think it was very painful for you to go through that, was it?
Oh, it was, but also too, you one needs to learn to shed that like one sheds a winter coat. You know, if
Right.
you're as some animals do, or a snake would shed a skin. But you just shed that, and you say, "Oh, I ask myself in any of those difficult situations, Bob, what did you learn?
Mm-hmm.
And how have you overcome that? And how are you dealing with that now? Because I have to reframe it. That was a great experience for me. That taught me how to get through hardships. It taught me how to deal with a sense of low self-esteem. It taught me so many things. It taught me to begin to recognize that you may not be what you think you are, meaning, not as good.
Mm-hmm.
So it really helped me to get a better appreciation of what could happen within one's psyche and socially, and how you can overcome that.
And I think to me, it depicts that you had an internal armor and you just kept that on until you knew that you had all the talents and skills that you needed and you were able to shed that and you glowed. You were a success then.
Well, let me share something with you about that too. I did have a strong armor, but that didn't come to me naturally in this sense. I had a very strong core around me, and it's so important. I say this because the environment that we come from and the environment that we create helps people to be all they can be. I had a loving mother and dad who had confidence in me. A matter of fact, they thought I
Wow.
could do things beyond what I ever thought I could do myself. But they continually believed in me, and they continually encouraged me. And they continually loved me.
Right.
So that made a difference to me to succeed beyond what I thought I could.
And so because of having parents like that, that helped you to be an even better role model for your daughters and for your grandkids, doesn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Parenting is so important. Older people have such an impact on young people.
Yes, for sure. Well, what I want to do now, Bob, is to go to the other end of the spectrum and let's talk about a time in your journey when you had an aha moment, when you became aware of the new path that you wanted to travel. Will you take us to that moment when you had the light bulb go off and through the steps that you took to turn that idea into success?
Oh my goodness. Well, one of the early ones was when I decided to go on to higher education. When I had to make the decision about whether I was going to go on to school. But what happened to me was having success in the first level graduate school, meaning really finding a passion in what I was doing and enjoying learning for the first time. I said, oh my goodness, I can't stop here. I got to continue. So I made a pact in myself and all those around me, meaning my wife to be, saying
Right.
that I had to go on for my doctoral studies. And for that was a personal challenge for me, and to see that I could accomplish that. And also it helped me on my mission, meaning where I wanted to go in life. I wanted to be able to, I wanted to be more, I'm a kind of an independent person. So
Okay.
I wanted to have the independence. I thought the consulting world would be where I wanted to be. And so I thought, being a young man at that time, under 30 at that time, I thought the credential was very helpful to me to be able to have a doctorate, to be able to do that. So
Right.
so that was really important to me, and that was kind of an aha that actually I think consumed my life in a very positive way for about 3 to 5 years, when I made a decision, followed through, and completed my doctoral studies. About
Wow.
5 years. Yeah.
Well, good for you. And those real life experiences, they just help us to keep learning and growing and to take those lessons and apply them to all the facets of our lives. And what I want to do now, Bob, is to bring us to the present time and ask you to share your proudest entrepreneurial moment.
Oh my goodness. Um, I'm trying to think of which one. I've had a number of them. Um, Well, okay, I think probably my proudest entrepreneurial moment was when I helped a client to be very successful in their business, repositioning their business, and making some very good choices around the talent that they had chosen around them, that really took them from a startup company into a very high performing organization. And it was a technology company that I had worked with. So I think that intense work with the leadership and the leadership team, and getting them to go from just beyond startup to a very high performing organization, I guess that probably was one of my highest moments. Yeah, and that was about 5 years, well, 10 years ago now. Yeah.
Well, I think that shows us as another facet of you and your skills to be able to get acquainted with somebody and then to see what their talents are and to help them recognize them and give them the confidence to grow with them. That takes a lot of expertise on your part, and I can see why you are successful in helping other people in those other areas. So thank you for sharing that. And people want to hear stories like yours and how you are growing and making your business success. So would you tell us one thing that is really exciting about your business right now?
Yes, I'll tell you in this sense is that I was thinking of winding my business down about a year and a half ago, given that I'm 71 years of age, so I'm not just mid-career.
Right.
And however, a colleague of mine approached me and said, Bob, I'd like to purchase your business, and I'd like you to run my business, be the president of the
Oh
company.
my.
And I said, to my friend, I said, gee, I'm just thinking of going the other direction. So anyway, we had a conversation, and a number of conversations, and I decided to do that. But let me tell you about
Okay.
the way life comes around. I was on that path of doing that, and I was getting really excited and exuberated about doing it. And I had my company evaluated legally, and we placed a price on it, and we were working on all the particulars. Didn't sign any papers. Unfortunately, my friend, who's younger than I am, had a heart attack.
Oh my.
Terrible. And then after the heart attack, he had a bout of depression, which
Oh.
took him into hospital for several months. So it was like, oh my goodness, what's going on? However, again, I have to thank him and thank God he's healthy. And matter of fact, I have a conversation with him earlier today, and he's back in business and he's doing well and
Oh,
so on and so
good.
forth. Yeah, so I'm really pleased and thankful. However, it changed our path, but I had to thank him because he really got my juices going again.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the interim, since that time, I've now established two strategic partnerships with other companies so that we could represent some of their products and services and that we can work collaboratively together. I'm building, our consulting team is building up again, and we're moving forward. And I'm saying to myself, I've got at least 3 or 5 more years in me that I'm really going to. And then I have my youngest daughter, who I'm very interested in working with, and she works along with me. And if I can leave her a legacy of this business,
Oh, wow.
that can make me a really, really happy person. So anyway, you never know how that road's going to turn. But for me, at this point in time, and as I mentioned to you earlier, is that this morning I was at a spin class. Well,
Right.
one thing that's very, very important to me in my stage of life, in everybody's stage of life, is their physical health.
Yes.
That's one of my significant goals, to sustain and maintain my physical health as long as I can, so I can do all the other things I love to do.
Oh, I think that is so powerful, and I like what you said about it just reinvigorated you when you
Absolutely.
started thinking about your business and you doing it, and I think that all helps us to stay younger, and definitely the physical part, but I believe there's a lot of power in that mental part too. So good for you. You're
They're
back on the
connected.
road.
Thank you. They're connected. If you keep your body in good shape, you're bound to have a better mental attitude. So,
Oh, that's for sure.
yeah.
Well, what is the best business advice that you ever received?
Well, I think basically, well, first of all, the number of good advice I received, but one of them, one bit of advice I had is to constantly be open-minded.
Mm,
It's important to focus and to make decisions, but always be open-minded for alternatives and opportunities, and to go through that sorting process and make those make decisions as you see that fit. You can always change your path, change your direction, but you need to be able to set a path. Beyond that, to be open for new opportunities and new challenges all the way along the way. New associations, new partnerships. I don't care who you are, your success is dependent on your relationships with other people to be successful.
true.
You know,
That's true. We can't do this alone, can we?
not at all,
Not
not at
at
all.
all. Well, now I'm going to ask you to share some specific ways that show how you achieved becoming such a successful entrepreneur. Does that sound like a plan?
Yes, it is. Yeah. Well, to me, I believe the important in any person's success is building good, positive relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Really, and looking for those people who complement what you do, and that they complement you in their skill set and in their knowledge set. However, they ought to have similar core values. It's
Okay.
so important to align your values. I've seen so many business enterprises, they had similar visions but not the same values. Okay, it's important to have those same values or complementary values, and then you will co-create your vision together, and you will be successful on drawing on each other's strengths and abilities.
Right. Those just go hand in hand, don't they?
Hmm.
Yes. Well, what is the vision of the future of your business? And maybe you've explained that a little bit already, but we'll take
Yes.
more.
Well, thank you. No, but my vision over the next 3 to 5 years is to be able to build the enterprise that I have here with others in strategic relationships, so that I have something I can be satisfied and enjoy along the way, but have a legacy for those who I leave it behind, whether it be my children, my grandchildren, my partners or associates, that I'd like people to be able to say that I left them something of value, and that would make me very happy.
Oh, that is very valuable to leave a legacy that other people can feel confident and happy with. Yeah, that's very good. How can you share one of your personal habits that you strongly believe contributes to your success? And I bet you I know what it is, a little bit anyway.
Well, no, you're absolutely right, and it has to do with well, two things. Every morning when I wake up, before I even get out of the bed, I I say thank you, Lord, because I know that the breath I take in the first thing in the morning is a gift to me. And
Yes.
as long as I have that, I cherish it. And then as I put my 2 feet back on the ground, I usually start the day at least 3 to 4 days a week, going off to do some exercise.
Hmm.
Again, for me, that gets the body moving, gets my adrenaline going, and I just enjoy so much the people I share that hour with 3, 4, 5 times a week.
Well, do you have an internet resource like Evernote or a favorite app which helps your efficiency that you want to share with our listeners?
Well, well, I do when I'm traveling. I find it very, very helpful. It's called TripAdvisor.
Oh,
TripAdvisor, what I found, well, I used to travel a lot more. Right now, I usually fly to destinations, but I rent a car wherever I'm going to usually to my clients. And TripAdvisor helps me very quickly to find out wherever I am, where do I stop for a good meal, where am I going to, what are the resources around there so that I can, if I want to find an exercise place or I want to find a good place to eat or any events, TripAdvisor has been extremely helpful for me. Um, and it gets me, yeah.
well, that does sound like a good one. I haven't heard of that one.
hmm
And is it a free app?
It's a free app. It is.
Wow.
It is.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Well, storytellers, you will find the links to these sites in the show notes of today's episode at bizstorieshared.com/Dr. Bob Rotolo. Describe for us who are perfect referrals for your business.
Oh, thank you for that. Um, any business that's anywhere between 100 and 1,500 employees has a base of that. And if they're in a growth mode in particular, they're usually an ideal client for me because they're going from informal to formalized processes around their high-end
Oh,
practices,
sure.
performance management, leadership succession, and their critical mass, their employee base is so significantly important to their continued success. So we have the processes and the capabilities to help them leverage that talent in their organization, and to help have the right people in the right place doing the right things. That's what we're able to help them do. So that's the ideal client for us, and we have a number. We partner with a number of software companies, WiseHire, Intermetrics, Hologen, and these companies have software and technology that really enhances talent management. So I'd love to work with anybody that's in that position, any company.
Right. Oh, that sounds great. Thank you.
Thank
Well,
you.
do you have a book, just one book that you would recommend to our listeners? What would that be?
I'd recommend my book.
Oh, yes. Yes. You gave me a copy of it, didn't you?
Yeah,
Is that your
yeah.
latest one?
No, actually, I have one going into print now, but I have
Oh,
I have I have three books, two books. Inspiration at Work, igniting a new entrepreneurial spirit in the individual and corporation, really is the essence of much of my earlier work, and it focuses on four competency areas: um, self-direction, self-management, self-motivation, and relationship building. Four core competency areas to be successful individually or corporately. And then my second book is a mentoring guide, coaching and mentoring guide called Creating Your Dreams and Making Them Real. Creating Your
wow.
Dreams, Making Them Real is the second book that I've written. The one in process now is called Beyond Leadership to Transformation. Beyond Leadership Transformation. So if anyone wants to know more about that, all I do is just call me or go to my website, and I'd be more than pleased to share information with them.
All right. Well, we will have your website on the in the show notes so people will be able to find them. And if you want, we can put the names of the three books there.
Thank you.
Great. That'll make a nice selection.
Thank you.
Bob, I have truly enjoyed listening to your journey and the stories that you shared. Now, will you please share one more time how we can get in touch with you and any other resources that you want us to have, and then we'll say goodbye.
Oh, thanks so much, Charlotte. I can be reached by phone at 602 284 0899, and my website is www.quantumperformance, QUANTUM performance.net. And I also have a blog, which is drbobrutolo.com, drbobrutolo.com. Thank you.
All right. Well, would you please say the names of your 3 books again, and I will put them in the show notes too.
Thank you. First book is Inspiration at Work, Igniting a New Entrepreneurial Spirit in the Individual and the Corporation.
Okay.
The second book is Creating Your Dreams and Making Them Real. And the third book is Beyond Leadership to Transformation.
All right. Wonderful. Thank you. And thank you for being so generous with your time, expertise, and experiences. Okay, listeners, you can find the links to these resources and everything that we've been chatting about in today's episode by going to bizstorieshared.com/Dr. Bob Ruotolo. Thank you very much, Bob.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Bye.
Bye.
Give the storyteller some love. Go to bizstorieshared.com, click on the iTunes button, and give a 5-star review. Thanks.